Welcome everybody back to the Bowfishing Podcast. We're here today on the ground floor of the Memphis Pyramid, and I got one of my good buddies with us. A lot of you guys in the bowfish community already know Chris James with FeraDyne products, and more specifically, the Muzzy Bowfishing brand.
Thanks for having me on here, Chuck. I love this environment. This has always been one of my favorite venues for this tournament. The last time it was here, it was over 1,000 pounds. Took the Big 20 and set a new record, I think, at the time for Big 20. And it's just super exciting. Everybody gets pumped up. There's so many places people can shoot fish. You've got the big scale guys, the small scale guys. Everybody's kind of on an equal platform. It just depends on the weather and who found the fish.
Yep. And I know you're pulling for the Muzzy Pro staff. That's who got the record the last time it was here 9 years ago. So I know you guys are hoping and rooting them on and hoping they come in first place in the morning. But we got Chris here with us today. Muzzy's always been on the forefront of new products for bow fishermen. Chris and I have been friends for 14, 15 years.
Yep.
Ever since I started working with Muzzy back when it was just Muzzy, before FeraDyne acquired it. And it was just a little bitty store there in Cartersville, Georgia, or a little warehouse. And
Warehouse in the middle of cotton fields.
Yeah, they were a well-known name in the outdoor world for making the Muzzy battered bone broadheads, and then they just come on the scene. Luckily, the family loved bow fishing, and then you got there shortly after, and the Muzzy product brand just took off. So today we want to bring Chris in and just let him talk about the Muzzy products, and I've always used them, and y'all seen me put them through heck, and JP as well, and John. And what's new? What's new with Muzzy?
Man, we've got a lot going on right now. The newest thing's our new Deviant bow, bow fishing bow. We've got that, and we're excited about it. We launched it here, new for this year, and it's completely different. I'll pull it out here. Everybody that's seen it is just like, what on earth are you doing with this? So, we started a few years ago. We partnered with Oneida with the LVX, the VXM, and kind of got into the lever bow, the camless lever bow market, right? And we kind of started a trend. After that, everybody jumped on that camless lever bow. Like, they started taking what we did and improving on it and trying to do some different stuff. And we were the first one to do the camless lever bow in like 20 years, right? Since Oneida had done it way back in the day. So we wanted to come up with something completely different. We worked with the engineers and our bow manufacturer that we use. And we came out with this hybrid lever cam design. And it's completely different, right? It looks like something out of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like something off Shredder's helmet, or there's tons of different things people have said over the course of the last 3 years that we've been testing it. But it's a really unique design, and it gives you a solid back wall. It's got 60% let off. It's 3.8 pounds, so it's super light. 7.1 inch brace height. It's 28 inches axle to axle, but like 37 inches tip to tip, maybe something like that. So it's a little bit shorter than your traditional bows. It's super smooth, so when it preloads, all of the weight is in the first 5 or 6 inches of the draw length, and then as soon as you get to like right there, it lets off to 60 pounds. So it's super smooth. You can adjust it with just an Allen wrench right here for your draw stops on both sides. You can do that in about 30 seconds. Tuning it's super easy. You don't have to have a press. When you draw it back, you can actually just stick an Allen wrench right through the slot there.
So
once
it
goes
locks
past
itself.
It just locks itself back. Yep. And then you put it on the side that you want to take the cable off of, twist in the cable, put it back on, draw it back, and you're back to going. So like tuning, it's super easy. You don't have to loosen anything. You don't have to remember, a timing screw. That's one of the biggest things on like an Osprey. Guys forget to mess with loosen the timing screw, and then they have to go back and reset it all up. And it's a bulletproof system, but people just forget to do it, right? Like, you're in the heat of the moment, you're trying to do something. So like, that's some of the things that we were trying to, like, how can we make it simple, bulletproof it? We're dry fire testing them in lots to 100 dry fires. So this each lot that comes in, like when we're making them every day at the factory, one bow gets dry fired to 100 shots, and then when we get them in, we take a lot, randomly sample 10 out of them, and shoot them to 100 shots, and they can't have any failures. So we're trying to make as bulletproof a bow as we can. We put a machined aluminum shelf rest on there right out of the gate, so every bow, whether it's the bare bow or the kit, it's coming with the
got a custom rest already
built on it. Not everybody likes that, but at the same time, it's kind of one of the trends that we're seeing.
Yeah.
Going forward, everybody really likes that shelf rest. It's super simple.
Well, the thing about a shelf, and for the guys that that shoot them, they already know, but bow fishing bows get beat to death. Not only do they get beat to death on the boat just riding from point A to point B.
Yep.
You know, you're driving in a boat and these things get set in the fish barrel, they get put in the floor of the boat. But also, especially in the tournament scene, when the stuff hits the fan
Yep.
and there's a big fish running on the line and it's got 2 arrows in it, what usually takes the blunt is somebody throws the bow down in the bottom of the boat and grabs the line.
Yep.
Because all they're wanting to do is get that fish in the boat as quick as possible.
Yep.
Well, when you have a rest that's hanging off the side of the bow, that's what catches all that impact as soon as it hits, whether on the set screw side of it or whether it's going to be on the rest side of it. So I've seen it a lot of times, especially when I was guiding. People would get excited. They'd set their bow down in the bottom boat, step back and step on it and break the rest off, and their night's over. And that's the benefit that I always see with a shelf rest. It's just out of the way. It's sleek. It's compact. And there's not a lot of tuning. You know, once you get it set, that baby's set for the life of the bow.
Yep.
But that's great. 2 years ago, you guys come to me with this design, and I'm not going to lie. Chris said, "Hey, I got something I got to show you," and I just want you to give me your knee-jerk reaction. What did I say?
What in the heck is that?
I said, "My God, Chris."
We were rolled up we were at Waterfront at Guntersville, and we rolled up. I'm sitting there. I'm eating a sandwich, waiting on Chuck, and he comes rolling. He's like, "All right, let's see what you got." And I pull it out. And he just looks at me. He's like, "What in the heck is this?" And he's looking at it. I'm like, "Well, draw it back." And he's like, "You sure?"
Yeah, I honestly was very questionable on it. But like I said, that was 2 years ago. And you guys, put in your work, make sure it's going to hold together. And y'all been having good luck with it so far. For the guys that are not in touch with the lever bow scene, this is one of the questions I'm sure you get as much as we get all the time, especially on Facebook. Guys are like, do I need a lever bow? Do I really need a lever bow? Because all these guys I see that are competing, all these guys that are serious about it, it seems like every one of them has a lever bow. And the answer to me, I give them this answer right here. Yes. And the reason being, the number one reason being, is that all these cam bows that are out there, fish are never sitting still.
Nope.
They're always swimming. And when they see those lights or they see you moving around, they take off running. Well, when they start swimming off, you just want to start tracking them because you're shooting instinctive. Well, what happens is with those cam bows, once that cam rolls over, that string is setting out of that cam. So as soon as you start to track that fish and you torque that bow just a little bit, you got an implosion in your hand because the string actually comes off the cam. It's not that you
roll it off. They roll it off the cam.
It just rolls off of it, and it's just by the design. Cam bows, like the modern compound hunting bows, are made to be drawn straight back, perpendicular to the ground, anchor, shoot. Bow fishing bows, that's not like that. I mean, we're just, it's like wadding up a piece of trash and throwing it in the garbage can. You do whatever how you can do it and get it done.
Yep.
So when the fish takes off, you're snap shooting, you're shooting at fish running this way and running that way, and you're just really prone to derailing these bows. So all of your lever bows, you're just not going to derail them like that.
Right.
So that is the big benefit, and there's nothing that kills a trip faster than having to stop in the boat and work on something.
Oh yeah, exactly. And that's just it. Like, you've got to keep really good form. People do it, and you take new people out, and if you got a cammed bow, just about guarantee you within the first 30 minutes you're going to be either swapping bow out. As soon as they see a fish and they start to go, they death grip it, and it starts to dart, and instead of moving their body, they just twist their wrist just like that and let it go, and then the next thing you know, you've got a derailed bow.
Yep.
So, and then that's one of the things you just don't have that with this type of bow, and it's really, the weight, they're usually a lot lighter, they hit harder. Lever bows just in general for bow fishing, the bow fishing machine. That's why they do so well.
Yeah, and lever bows just give you that perfect combination of the shootability of a recurve. You have that longer axle to axle, less finger pinch, but then you're also getting that extra power from the cams.
Yep.
So instead of having a recurve to where if you only pull it back so far, you don't get a lot of power generated, these have the power curve built into them. So once you get that bow back and turn it loose, it's sitting there at home.
Yeah, exactly. And this compares. I had the little charts pulled up, but your power curve on a traditional cammed bow kind of goes up, and it'll drop off a little bit, and then when you get to your back wall, it drops off. That's where all your let off happens, at the very last inch or whatever, right? Then you've got like a VXM or an LVX that's a lever bow that it's let off. It's kind of a straight continuous draw cycle. And that's typically what you see on most of your Ospreys as well. Depending on what mods they've got on there, they may have let off on them towards the back or whatever, but it's going to be more of a continuous version. Where this bow, it loads up very quickly, and then it just plateaus. It's the same all the way. So it loads up, comes down a little bit, and then it's the same all the way back through that whole thing. So that's the power curve you're talking about.
Mhm.
And people, when you're talking about any kind of bow, the power curve is what makes it comfortable to shoot, right? Like,
Right.
and what feels good for you, because you got to make sure that, form, right? Shooting, having it come out of your fingers. Like, some people like to shoot gloves, some people like to shoot no gloves, some people just shoot bare fingers, and having that string come out of your fingers at the same exact way every single time. We were doing the speed testing on this, so I actually we shot it at every draw length, and started at 50 pounds and went all the way down to the 15 pounds or 20 pounds, I think, all the way through, so we could kind of get a track of where the speeds were on it. And you would not believe the difference. Like, you could feel if it came off your fingers weird, you would lose 10 or 15 feet a second just because of the way it comes off your fingers. Like, if you're not consistent, it would happen. It may happen 3 times the whole time we were doing it, and we were shooting 3 shots at each one of those ones to get an average. But making sure that you've got good form and that you're shooting really good. So having a bow set up just for you, making sure you've got the right draw length, that it fits you well, and that you're comfortable with it. That's the most important thing.
Right. And whatever you set it up for, you just want that bow to shoot that arrow like a dart going in the water.
Yep.
And that's something you'll hear JP and I preach all the time, whether it's an Oneida, whether it's a Muzzy bow or any other lever bow or bow fishing bow you're shooting, whether it's a cam bow or just an old hunting bow that you got and you slapped a bow fishing kit on. You just want to imagine an Olympic diver going in the water.
Exactly. I was just about to say an Olympic diver, no splash.
You want that arrow to go in the water with no splash. And some guys, like you said, they're going to grip it a little bit harder. And that's why it's hard to teach bow fishing to someone without having some water close by for them to shoot. Because you can sit there and shoot in the front yard all day long. I've done it a million times. I've taught my kids to do it. But once you get on the water, then you start seeing that arrow kick right or kick left, and you see that splash throw up, and then you go in and you make those final little adjustments to where when that thing starts hitting straight, then you're getting it dialed in. And looking down the road, when you start moving around different places, shooting different fish, shooting different water, that really comes into play, because now you're getting all that energy from that arrow transferred into that fish that's 4 foot deep down there.
Right.
And not only is it making your shot more true because the arrow's actually tracking straight, but it's giving more efficient because you're harnessing all that poundage coming out of your bow, and you're using every bit of it. It's kind of, like I use the analogy of throwing a spark plug. If I throw it like a flat, it don't do anything. But if I throw it like a dart, man, it'll bust the windshield out. You got to be, if you put all that mass on that one little tip of it, that's where you want it, and that's what we want on these arrows. You and I were talking yesterday, and that brings me into my next point, because Muzzy sells all types of different arrows and tips. The different types of arrows. I think a lot of people just walk in, Bass Pro, like y'all running a heck of a sale back here on the Sabres, $9.99. I'm gonna give y'all a plug because that's a freaking awesome price.
That's a heck of a price.
They're flying off the shelf right now. But a lot of people don't understand there's certain arrows that work better in certain situations.
That arrow's it's lightweight. It's got a solid fiberglass core. I think about 8 or 9 inches up on the front of it, so it gives it a lot of FOC. But it shoots great for like numbers guys or low poundage guys. But if you crank it up to 50 pounds, it's going to be a weak spine. So it's going to look like a wet spaghetti noodle as it coming out. So it'll be really hard to tune shooting high poundage. But if you're shooting 25 to 35 pounds, it's going to be a lot better flying arrow. But you're not going to be able to shoot it deep, right? It's going to be it's one that you'd want to shoot for 2 to 3 feet. Right, just basically where the arrow's just disappearing in the water. That's where you're going to get your best performance out of that arrow. Now the glow sticks in the inside of it
they're
are really cool.
They
make it so when you throw your arrow on the deck or whatever, you know exactly whose arrow is who, and it gives you you guys got some really cool footage of the tilapia with it.
Oh yeah, they were great for shooting those tilapia because it's shallow water, and those fish are not very thick, so it actually worked out really good. John and JP and I will shoot low poundage. I'm actually on that usually like under 30 pounds. I just pinch the knock and shoot. So, like you were talking about earlier, higher than 35 pounds, I just don't have the finger strength like I used to be able to pinch the knock and shoot. So I have to shoot either 3 below or 1 above and 2 below. But with those arrows, we shoot low poundage, pinch the knock, and it's just like throwing darts. And it gets the perfect penetration on those little, 5 to 8 pound tilapia.
You're not blowing all the way through them.
And then you got the cool glow stick. But like yesterday, we were talking about getting back to the arrows. the difference in the white shafts compared to y'all's green shafts. And I've been privileged enough because like JP's always videoing me, and I'm always videoing him, and John's videoing us both, and we're always shooting something different.
Right.
So we're kind of privileged to go back and watch this slow motion video and like, man, look at that arrow. You know, like I told you yesterday, I'm like, man, we were shooting those buffalo the other day, and some of those arrows, you know, and I noticed it was the white ones. They look like when coming out of JP's boat, because he'll crank it up really high poundage because he loves shooting long and you know down deep, and those arrows were just walking. You know, and we switched over.
Paradox takes a little while for him to recover.
Right, and so when it was hitting the water, you know, especially when you're shooting 4 foot deep, if that arrow's hitting, it's kind of like shooting a bullet. If it's aimed up this way just a little bit, when it hits the water, it misses by a foot by the time it gets down there. So we were switching over to the green shafts, and I was shooting a carbon, and just seemed like we were getting a lot better arrow flight out of them. But it was because we're shooting higher poundage.
Yeah, when you get higher poundage, that's where the carbon arrow really shines. It's got a little bit stiffer spine. It's lighter weight because it doesn't weigh as much as the solid glass arrows, but it is a little bit stiffer spine. So if you're going to shoot, if you're trying to shoot a heavier point with a little bit lower poundage, it helps on that as too because it's a little bit stiffer. You know, if you're trying to shoot some of our competitors' stuff that's really big and a lot heavier than your standard point, the grapples and some of the stuff like that need a little bit stiffer shaft, they work really great for that. But like as far as our Muzzy arrows go, that one it's great for high poundage and shooting deep. And then you can always, if you need a little extra weight, you can always put one of our big fish adapters on there, or 2 of them. You know, you can actually pop the bars out, stack them in there a little bit, get a little bit more tip weight on there. But then, you know, we were talking about the difference in the white and the yellow, or the chartreuse shafts. The dye that they put in there actually stiffens it up just a little bit. It's, you know, it's as you have the deflection on there, that dye actually makes it just a little bit stiffer shaft than the straight white does.
Gotcha.
Because it's running just raw resin and fiberglass. So you don't have that dye that's mixed in there, and that's why, like, you know, sometimes that's why we run those the iron points. We run those on the chartreuse shafts because they're just a little bit heavier than your standard classic carp tip or guard tip. So we wanted them a little bit stiffer. So that's why we ran that.
Yeah, I love using those for big heads. That's my favorite. The irons are my favorite. The 2 blades. You know, I shoot the regular tip, carp tip for about everything, but when it comes big head season, or big buffalo deep, I love those 2 blades. They just get great penetration, and
it makes such a small hole.
That's it. When they fold up in that water, I mean, I know exactly where it's going. You know. I tell you, I don't know what else. You know, you always say like can't reinvent the wheel, but you guys have done a really good job, and every year, you know, you try to build on everything and make it a little bit better. I know with the tournament reels, you know, they've just been progressively getting better and better. Shoot through rods. Are y'all got anything else coming up? You know?
Yeah. So we've got a few things. I can't let a lot out of the bag, but we are looking at a new version of the reel that we're going to be working on probably for 27. Hopefully we'll have some samples out for you either this fall or early next spring to run through a full year of, so we can get a little bit of time. Some new reel seats. You know, the LVR is great, and it does. I didn't mention that, but it's got an integrated pick rail here, so you can actually mount it right to the bow. But when we created the LVR, we wanted like a bulletproof reel seat, right? Like the super easy to quick to change, but also like you weren't going to have any issues with it. It wasn't going to come apart. Well, our engineers. They basically made it like a strong man, you know, like it's not built for speed or style. It's, you know, you could club somebody with it. So needs a little diet. So we're working on a little bit lighter weight reel seat. So we're working on that. The new reel, you know, we're working on some youth stuff because I think one of the things that we're focusing on is trying to get more kids in the sport. You know, I've got my daughter here this weekend, and one of my big things this year has just been trying to get as many kids introduced to bow fishing as possible. One of our initiatives is we're going to try to work with some of the different youth archery organizations and try to create some more youth-oriented clinics and things like that for next year. We're going to try to get it this year. We just kind of ran out of time. But, you know, Andy not doing the Jared Ashmore anymore, that was a huge introduction. So we're going to try to fill that with some other organizations and some help to where instead of being a tournament, it's more like a hands-on
like a bow fishing clinic.
Bow fishing clinic, yeah, where you can take and run like some different age groups of kids and work with them for an hour. You know, get one-on-one with a bunch of different people, get their draw links set, get them comfortable shooting at a target, And we're hoping to do it like around Kentucky there, where they can take them to the rocks. Like you can just walk down there with a chaperone and like actually let them shoot some fish off the rocks, and so you kind of cycle through them a little bit. But I think it would be a really cool thing to be able to teach kids about it, let them practice it, and then take them and go put it right into practice there, and then just cycle through the day, letting them shoot some stuff, and then getting more kids involved in doing that. In some
That's
different
what
places.
it's about.
That's the growth
thing,
of the sport.
and like we mentioned last night on the podcast, was the kids latch on to bow fishing. This is the cool new thing.
Yep.
They want to. It's the sandbar life and the lake life now is really taking off with the younger generation, all the way from the youngest kids all the way up to these 18, 19, 20-year-olds, and it's just access.
Yep.
There's not like when you and I grew up. There was paper company land everywhere. If you wanted to go squirrel hunting, you wanted to go rabbit hunting, you wanted to go turkey hunting, there was land you could just pull over on the side of the road and go, or you could go knock on the doors and you could get permission.
Right.
Well, nowadays the harsh truth is that we're running out of access for these kids to get into the outdoors, and the number one avenue for these kids to get experience and get that that whole outdoor realm is bow fishing.
Yep.
And the great thing for us is that it's action packed. You don't have to be quiet. You don't have to sit in the deer stand and freeze to death. You go out there with your dad or with a mentor or with somebody that that knows what they're doing, or even if you have to pay a guide, you go out there and you have a ball.
Yeah.
And you leave and you go home. You don't have to have a leash. You don't have to have all this fancy stuff, and the kids just love it.
Oh man, we I sent you some videos and we shared them on our TikTok the other day. Like my daughter's wading, the backwater came up. I helped coach a youth shooting team, and we took a couple of the kids out there that had never been before, and they hunt, they fish, they're all they're shooting bows in the competition, they shoot rifles, they shoot shotguns, and the smiles I can't get these kids. We just won a junior state championship for North Carolina with them, and I couldn't get them to smile in a single picture. And the picture with these kids holding these fish up, the first fish they ever shot, you couldn't get the smile off their face.
Well, you see it every day. Every day you get on TikTok, every day you get on Instagram, these kids are doing it for social media.
Yeah.
That and whatever it takes to get them out there, I don't care. If they say they're doing it for the gram, I'm fine with that.
Exactly.
Because you're instilling different values that they're going to use all throughout life that we learned at an early age from hunting and fishing. Those same values are going in them kids. I don't care if they're doing it for social media content or what. I'm just glad they're outside and not sitting inside playing video games.
100%. That's the biggest thing, man. And like I said, it's so cool to watch them like process it, and these are kids that are shooting back tension releases at 12 and 13 years old, and for them to kind of let loose of that and use fingers and to just have to visualize where they're shooting at and miss a few fish, get frustrated with it, and then it starts clicking. They pick it up, and he couldn't stop telling his buddies that didn't get to come. It was an open invitation, how good it was, and how he's like, man, when can we go again? And so it's just one of those things that as soon as you get a couple kids like that together and they're wading around and
they feed off each other.
They feed off each other, yeah. And so it's a really cool thing to see that, and we're gonna start trying to tailor some products to youth stuff, specifically for youth stuff, and a couple of things that are big is my daughter's, this is nice because it sits on your thigh a little bit different. It's not poking into you, so it's kind of a nice little rest. But just holding the bow up, my youngest one's 9, and she's using a little diamond in atomic ice, right? So it's super lightweight. By the time you put a reel seat and a reel on there, her holding it for an hour, walking around in the water for an hour, her shoulder's tired, right?
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing is fatigue with kids. So trying to get the weight down as much as we can and making it comfortable for them to shoot, and having equipment specifically for them, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing is you're trying to piece together stuff for kids. And since we're going to put a focus, we want to get them out there. I think we really got to be committed to making some youth products.
Well, good. That'll be awesome. We'll be looking for that. Well, they're giving me the kill sign back here, so
Yep.
I guess our time's up, and we appreciate y'all checking us out. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.